Hello everyone, and welcome to your favorite channel, Travelverse. And today we will be talking about what you need to see in New York City. Before I start the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to remain updated on all of my upcoming videos. Let's get started. New York, which was also called New York City to distinguish it from the state of New York, is the city with the largest population in the United States. In the United States, New York City is the biggest city, with the most people living in a small area. In 2020, there are expected to be 8,804,190 people living in an area of only 300.46 square miles. The city is in the middle of the New York metropolitan region, which is the largest urban landmass in the world. It is in the southernmost part of the state of New York. One of the most crowded megacities in the world is New York, which is expected to have 20.5 million people living in its metropolitan statistical area and 23.5 million people living in its combined statistical area by the year 2020. New York City is a hub for culture, business, and the media around the world. It also has a big effect on business, entertainment, research, technology, education, politics, tourism, food, art, and fashion, among other things. Most people agree that New York City is the most photographed city in the world. People often call New York the capital of the world because it is where the United Nations is based. This makes it an important place for international diplomacy. Also, New York is known as a safe place for investors from all over the world. It is expected that 62.8 million people, including day trippers, will visit the city in 2017. Of these, 49.7 million will be from the same country. Pedicabs and horse cabs are for people who want a more personalized service, while double-decker tour buses and boats with tour guides take tourists to different parts of Manhattan and other boroughs. There is also a strong infrastructure in the charter bus industry, with thousands of companies offering transportation services for groups visiting the city. The most well-known ones are Academy, Bus Charters VIP, Leprechaun, Peter Pan, and Megabus. Tourists with a higher level of adventure can choose to walk, which is often the fastest way to get around in crowded, busy business districts and a great way to see how people live on the street. They can walk or rent bikes from shops in the area or along the Manhattan Waterfront Greenway. Some of the most popular places for tourists to visit in New York City are Broadway plays, Central Park, Times Square, Coney Island, the Financial District, museums, and sports stadiums. Tourists also like to go to events like the Tribeca Film Festival, music festivals on Randall's Island like Governor's Ball, Panorama, and Electric Zoo, and free shows at Summer Stage and the Delacorte Theater in Central Park. There are a number of ethnic neighborhoods in New York City where first- and second-generation Americans like to go shopping. Jackson Heights, Flushing, and Brighton Beach are just a few of those places. Genealogy-minded tourists often go to Ellis Island and other historic immigration sites like the Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island to do research on their family trees. Other tourist destinations include the Empire State Building, which was built in 1931 and was the tallest building in the world for the next 41 years. Radio City Music Hall, which is home to the Rockettes and many Broadway shows. The Intrepid Sea-to-Air Space Museum, which is on a World War II aircraft carrier. And city landmarks like Central Park, which is considered to be one of the best examples of landscape architecture. Tourists are more likely to go shopping in New York City now that there is no sales tax on clothes and shoes. Before the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, which hurt the city as a whole and its tourism industry, a lot of people went to the World Trade Center. There weren't as many tourists for a few months, and it took 2 years for that to change. During that time, there were fewer tourists from other countries, but more tourists from the same country. This was partly because of a focus on patriotic tourism. The number of trips to the World Trade Center has gone up, especially since new buildings have opened there in recent years. The World Trade Center site has become an important place to visit on its own, and the number of people who go there has grown. Travelers flock to street fairs and festivals like the Halloween Parade in Greenwich Village, the Labor Day Carnival in Brooklyn, and the New York Marathon. Visitors to New York City can enjoy more than 28,000 acres of parks and 14 miles of public beaches. Central Park in Manhattan, which was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, is the city park in the United States that gets the most visitors every year. Olmsted and Vaux also built Brooklyn's Prospect Park, which has a meadow that is 90 acres. Flushing Meadows and Corona Park in Queens, which is the city's fourth largest park, was the site of both the 1939 and 1964 World's Fairs. Millions of people went to both fairs. There was a lot to learn about the history and culture in New York City. Because of this, there are a lot of tours with gospel, rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and hip-hop music. Harlem and the East Village, which has a lot of places that are important to the history of punk rock, are two of the most popular places for music tours. A walking tour is one of the most common and popular ways to see the city, and there are many private guides who offer them. Gesso is a mobile app that companies that put together audio walking tours use. Food tours are another thing that visitors can do. New York City is one of the best places in the world to get food. The city's unique food culture has been shaped by the large number of immigrants and the large number of people who eat out every day. The city's famous bagels, cheesecake, and pizza in the New York style were brought there by Jews and Italians. Because the city gives licenses to about 4,000 mobile food vendors, most of whom are immigrants, Middle Eastern dishes like falafel and kebabs have become mainstays of the modern street food scene in New York City. There are also some restaurants in the city that are known for having some of the best haute cuisine in the United States. Food tours give visitors the chance to try a wide variety of local dishes and learn about the history and customs of the city they are visiting. New York Food Tours and Finds from Around Town are tour companies in the city of New York. Another thing that brings people to New York City is sports tourism. Every year, sports events bring more tourists to places like Yankee Stadium, Citi Field, and Madison Square Garden, as well as to street events like the New York City Marathon. In many of these counts, both people who live there and people who work there are counted. Also, the real number of visitors may be much higher than they seem, because a single person who visits the attraction more than once in a given year may be counted many times. Because of this, some ways to get around, like the Staten Island Ferry and the Brooklyn Bridge, as well as some neighborhoods, like Greenwich Village, Harlem, and the Financial District, are not included. The 4.62 million people who went to the Brooklyn Bridge Park in the summer of 2016 are not counted because there are no annual numbers. Still, Coney Island and Rockaway Beach are on the list because they are popular places for tourists to visit in the summer. The Battery will not be included. This is where tourist ferries from both the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island leave from. Also, sports stadiums aren't included because the number of people who gather there each year can change a lot from one year to the next. That's it for today, guys. Do you think I missed something? Share your comments with me in the comments below. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.